Coordinates 1 degree 25 and 173 degrees 00, A, 1.417 degrees north 173.000 degrees east, 1.417. 173.000 Kiribati, more than half of whom live on Tarawa Atoll. The state comprises 32 atolls and one raised coral island, Banaba. They have a total land area of 811 square kilometers and are dispersed over 3.5 million square kilometers. Their spread straddles the equator and the 180th meridian. Although the international date line goes around Kiribati and swings far to the east, almost reaching the 150 degrees west meridian. This brings Kiribati's easternmost islands, the Southern Line Islands south of Hawaii, into the same day as the Gilbert Islands and places them in the most advanced time zone on Earth. UTC+14. Kiribati is the only country in the world to be situated in all four cardinal hemispheres. Kiribati gained its independence from the United Kingdom, becoming a sovereign state in 1979. The capital, Tarawa, now the most populated area, consists of a number of islets, connected by a series of causeways. These comprise about half the area of Tarawa Atoll. Prior to its independence, the country had exported phosphate. However, those mines are no longer viable with fisheries and export of copra driving much of the economy. Kiribati is one of the least developed countries in the world and is highly dependent on international aid for its economy. Kiribati is a member of the Pacific Community, Commonwealth of Nations, the IMF, and the World Bank, the OACPS, and became a full member of the United Nations in 1999 and also a member of the Pacific Islands Forum. As an island nation, the islands are very vulnerable to climate change, and addressing climate change has been a central part of its international policy. As a member of the Alliance of Small Island States, the pronunciation differs. Bear, BTI. Kiribati is the normal pronunciation as T in the Gilbertese language represents an S sound. The name Kiribati was adopted in 1979 at independence. It is the Gilbertese rendition of Gilberts, the plural of the English name of the nation's main archipelago, the Gilbert Islands. It was named Isles Gilbert in about 1820 by Russian Admiral Adam von Krusenstern and French Captain Louis Duperrey, after the British Captain Thomas Gilbert. Gilbert and Captain John Marshall sighted some of the islands in 1788, while crossing the Outer Passage route from Port Jackson to Canton. Both von Krusenstern's and Duperrey's maps, published in 1824, were written in French. In English, the archipelago, particularly the southern part, was often referred to as the King's Mills in the 19th century, although the name Gilbert Islands was used increasingly, including in the Western Pacific Order in Council of 1877 and in the Pacific Order of 1893. The name Gilbert, already in the name of the British Protectorate since 1892, was incorporated into the name of the entire Gilbert and Ellice Islands colony. The first mention as a dictionary entry of the word Kiribati as the native name of the country was written down in 1952 by Ernest Sabatier in his comprehensive Dictionnaire Gilbertine Français. It is often suggested that the indigenous name for the Gilbert Islands proper is Tungaru Chain. The area now called Kiribati, mainly the 16 Gilbert Islands, has been inhabited by Austronesian peoples speaking the same oceanic language, from north to south, including the southernmost Nui, since sometime between 3000 BC and AD 1300. The area was not completely isolated. Later, voyagers from Samoa, Tonga, and Fiji introduced some Polynesian and Melanesian cultural aspects, respectively. Intermarriage and intense navigation between the islands tended to blur cultural differences and resulted in a significant degree of cultural homogenization. Local oral historians, chiefly in the form of lore keepers, suggest that the area was first inhabited by a group of seafaring people from Melanesia, who were described as being dark-skinned, frizzy-haired and short in stature. These indigenous peoples were then visited by early Austronesian seafarers from the west. A place called Matang, orally described as being tall and fair-skinned. Eventually, Both groups intermittently clashed and intermingled until they slowly became a uniform population. Around 1300 AD, there was a mass exodus from Samoa at the same time that cannibalism was forcefully abolished there, leading to the addition of Polynesian ancestry into the mix of most Gilbertese people. These Samoans would later bring strong features of Polynesian languages and culture, creating clans based on their own Samoan traditions and slowly intertwining with the indigenous clans and powers already dominant in Kiribati. Around the 15th century, with the stark contrasting systems of governance between the northern islands, primarily under chiefly rule, and the central and southern islands, primarily under the rule of their council of elders, Tabateua could be an exception as the sole island that is known as maintaining a traditional egalitarian society. The name Tabi